Welcome back. Today's topic is operational planning activities of GENCO in both pool and bilateral markets. In the last two video lectures, we have discussed about the role of independent system operator, right? We have discussed about role of ISO in both pool and bilateral markets. Now, in this video lecture, we will discuss about the operational planning activities of GENCO in both the markets. I will start with the list of activities and then we will classify them on a type scale. So, first of all, let us discuss the pool markets and next we will move on to the bilateral markets. So, as you know that an ISO is a player who always plays with non-discriminatory and who wants to be fair always in the electricity market, who wants to provide access to everyone impartially. But on the other hand, GENCO is one operator who owns generating services and his only target is maximizing its profits. Has nothing other problem. He always wants to maximize his profit. When the price is very high, he wants to push in more power in order to grab more profits. If the price is too low, he might be coming back or he might be reducing his generation. So, unless there is an incentive for his operation, he won't think about anything else other than maximizing his profits. So the sole objective of GENCO is maximizing his profit without concern for the system unless there is an incentive for it. So that's why the GENCO operation is completely different when compared to the independent system operator. And the functions of GENCO also, they vary with the type of market structure. So now we do have two types of market structures. We'll go with the first one, the pool markets. In the pool markets, as you all know, that the GENCOs, they just do place bids, which is then collected by the independent system operator. He finalizes the bid. If at all, if we are shortlisted, then he will give us the information. So in pool markets, the GENCOs are required to bid for the energy supply and associated price to the market operator. So normally market operators will be the independent system operators. Whereas in some markets, apart from these two information, energy supply and associated price, they are supposed to provide additional information also. The startup prices, ramp rates, minimum up and down times, etc. These should be provided. And the market operator in turn carries out a unit commitment to obtain. If this entire information is provided, then the independent system operator, he himself does the unit commitment and identifies which is the best generator to operate for a given particular demand. So the market operator carries out the unit commitment and he settles the market and formulates the generation schedules. But whereas in some of the markets, basically, the independent system operator may not perform the unit commitment. So the job is to be done by GENCOs itself. So anyways, you are supposed to mandatorily provide this information. Additional information you can provide if at all if there is a chance of unit commitment by the independent system operator. So let's look at the functions of GENCO now in a pool market. As you know, just my job is just identifying the market price and market volume. That is what information which I am supposed to provide. So assuming that it is a day-ahead pool market, I'll take an assumption that it is a day-ahead pool market. So what he does? So let us look at the details of his functions now. So 24 hours ahead of the sale of the trading, a price forecast is to be available. So the GENCO, he carries out a price forecast. He estimates what can be the demand, what can be the price. So based upon that, based upon his technical considerations, based upon his availability of generation, availability of fuels, availability of maintenance and ramp rates, etc. So he identifies a suitable price. So he chooses a bidding strategy and for each and bidding period of next day. So for each hour he identifies a bidding strategy and he finalizes the bid and then he provides a bid to the independent system operator. This is what the job is. And in real time what he does, if his bid is shortlisted, Then he meets the generation schedules as ordered by the independent system operator. This is the job which he does in pool markets, nothing much. The market settlements will be carried out by the independent system operator itself after real time. But whereas in bilateral markets, the GENCOs they enter into direct buy and sell contracts with selling or buying agents. So generally these contracts are usually for trade in energy supply, but they can also include reserves and other services also, as we have discussed in the last lecture. And these contracts can be curtailable, non-curtailable, short-term, long-term, and based upon that the prices will be determined. And there is a concept of spot markets also. If let us suppose if I do have additional power even after providing bilateral transactions, then automatically what happens, I will enter into spot market in order to sell the remaining power which I do have. So if a spot market for energy trading on an hour-to-hour basis exists, the GENCO can sell its excess generation to the market and harness additional profits. However, for participating in the market as a seller or buyer, the GENCO has to submit bids for prices and quantity or any other parameter as required by the independent system operator, which we have seen in the last slides. In Nordic countries, where it is an open access market, where both bilateral transactions and also pool are present. So first he will concentrate on his bilateral transactions. The rest of the power he will sell in the pool markets. So then, what are the problems associated with the GENCO then? See, whenever you are dealing with your own unit commitments and etc., there will be technical constraints which we have discussed, such as ramp rate limits, startup costs. They need to be internalized by the GENCO. These he has to focus. As a GENCO, I need to focus on all these things. And then based upon this, I should decide my price. It is not that just based upon the forecast I should decide the price. I must think about these things also. So that's why it is always a tedious task for furnishing of all this information. And sometimes I am supposed to go take some assumptions, which might be realistic enough or which might be non-realistic enough. It is a complete responsibility of me. Sometimes I may incur financial losses also. And in particular, let us suppose I am solely dependent on thermal capacity. You know that thermal capacity, the fuel is one of the biggest problem. So if I suddenly commit for power, let us suppose the fuel cost is too high, then it is always a problem for me. So the problem is more complex. I may incur more financial losses if I do have it predominantly thermal generating capacity. But whereas idle capacity, it is the maintenance cost is very less, and there is no fuel also. So the GENCO always has its own problems, particularly in bilateral contracts. So now let's have a quick look about a GENCO, his operational planning activities. So his activities can be outlined on the time domain as follows. The first thing is 24 hours ahead, the time periods near real time, in real time. So this is the job of functions of GENCO in bilateral markets. So 24 hours ahead. Let us suppose if he is having a bilateral contracts and also pool markets. So 24 hours ahead, what he does a price forecast and he estimates the hourly market prices. So he has already his bilateral contracts he has. Additional generation he want to sell in pool. So what he does, he confirms a price forecast, he performs a price forecast, and based upon that he provides information on MCP and the price and volume. He submits a bid to the independent system operator in the pool markets, spot markets. So see, using the price forecast as input, GENCO determines its unit commitment, generation schedule, and trading decisions for the next day, so as to meet its bilateral contract commitments and maximize its profit from the markets. So based upon its trading decisions and price forecast, it will determine its bidding strategy for each bidding period in the pool markets during the next day. And he submits a decided dispatch schedule. And also when he's thinking about the providing bilateral commitments also, he needs transmission lines, right? So that information should be provided to the ISO because he is the final person to provide you access to the transmission lines. So he submits a decided dispatch schedule to the ISO. So at time periods near real time, he once again what he does is nothing but he monitors the system conditions, he monitors balance market prices and obtains updated forecasts. Based upon that, he formulates bidding strategies again. He changes his strategy again in order to reap in more profits. So in real time, what he does, he fulfills generation commitments to both bilateral contract customers and day-ahead market commitments. And if bid is selected, he will go with the market commitments. If it is not selected, then he will only confine himself to bilateral contract customers. So as you can see, the GENCO has the sole objective of making profits. And he is also supposed to do the load forecast and price forecast every time. This will help him in determining the optimal price when placing a bids. And they have a very greater responsibilities in bilateral markets because they have to approach the independent system operator for accessing of transmission lines, and they have to ensure their own reliability of the system. So all these things, they say that the GENCO has a larger role in bilateral markets when compared to pool markets. So I hope that now you are able to understand what is the role of GENCO in pool and bilateral markets. So I hope that you will be able to answer these questions. See, the list the operational activities of GENCO in pool markets based on time domain, and also what are the problems associated with GENCO in bilateral markets, and list their activities in bilateral markets based on the time domain. I hope that you'll be able to answer them. This is the reference one, and thank you. We will meet again in the next class.